Military juntas of Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso have signed a security pact, promising to help each other in the event of any external aggression. This alliance aims to establish an architecture of collective defense and mutual assistance. The West African regional bloc, ECOWAS, it had earlier threatened to intervene militarily in Niger over the coup. Mali and Burkina Faso were quick to respond, saying that any such operation would be deemed a declaration of war against them. Can this pact counter the ECOWAS, and what does this mean for the security situation and stability in the Sahel? To discuss this, we have with us Professor X. N. Iraqi from University of Nairobi. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you and good morning.
Now, sir, my first question to you, what's your assessment of the Security Pact and what would you say are the key objectives of the Charter?
That was quite surprising that three countries can come together and decide to defend themselves against ECOWAS. And ECOWAS was put there to help them achieve their political and economic objectives. So I think that success of that pact is yet to be seen because it has not been tested. But my suspicion is that ECOWAS is not just going to stand and watch. They may come up with their own countermeasures on how to make sure that coups don't take place in West Africa and coups are discouraged by any means. So since the pact has not been tested, we cannot gauge how successful it is going to be. But my guess is that ECOWAS and the French are going to come up with a countermeasure to that particular pact.
Right, absolutely. In fact, I was just going to come to this. Do you think this pact can effectively counter the ECOWAS, which had threatened to intervene militarily recently in Niger?
I don't think that three countries have enough firepower, enough military power, enough weapons to counter the ECOWAS. ECOWAS is a bigger group, and I'm sure ECOWAS has support not just in West Africa, not just among ECOWAS, but ECOWAS has a lot of support not just in Africa, but in Europe and in probably across in places like US. So I think the new pact is against a very formidable force, or a very big force, and it is unlikely to be successful in a short run.
All right. Now, that being said, what do you have to say about the impact of this on the Sahel? Do you think anti-French sentiment that's getting stronger in the coup belt of Africa? What are the factors that you would say have led to this shift in sentiment?
That's an interesting question because when the coups took place in West Africa, the people, the citizens came on the street to celebrate, the three countries. And the sentiment seems to be very negative toward the French. And the feeling is that the French have controlled West African countries for too long. They have never allowed them to be independent. And my feeling is that the French did not build institutions like the British. So the sentiments are growing, and a lot of West Africans are feeling that it is time the French left West Africa so that they can run their own businesses, they can run their economics. And it's not surprising that these coups in West Africa have got a lot of support.
Right. That being said, what options does this leave the regional bloc with then, and how do you see the situation unfolding going forward?
You see, the problem is that the reason why there was coup in West Africa is probably economic. These countries are very poor. They have been affected by the climatic change. They have been affected by the misgovernance. So just because they got a coup or they got new leaders or military leaders does not mean that things will change overnight. So I think it is going to be a long journey. They must reform the institutions, the military, the government, the democratic system, and very important, they must empower their people economically. Because one of the drivers of coups in West Africa is poverty, and poverty will not go away tonight or overnight. So the option is for these new leaders to make sure there's economic growth, there's prosperity, so that people have no propensity to go after the military coups. And very important, they must cooperate with other countries. These countries, whether it is Europe, whether it is Americans, whether it's Chinese, whether it is Indians, they are likely to come and invest in those countries so that they improve the economic situation of the country and we stop having coups. Because coups and poverty seem to go together.
Right. In fact, I was just going to come to this. How do you assess the economic impact of the instability in the Sahel region then?
It has been very negative. In fact, for the last 60 years, the countries of Sahel have not been doing very economically because of misgovernance, because of the weather. Not a very rich country in terms of crops, in terms of things like that. The weather has not been very good. But they have a lot of minerals like diamond and oil. But the problem is those minerals including uranium, have not been exploited to the benefit of the West Africans or the citizens of this country. But if that now can be harnessed for the good of the ordinary person, we can start seeing improvements in West Africa or in those countries that have been affected by the coups.
All right. Well, Professor Iraqi, thank you so much for joining us on WION with your insights on this.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of noise. I'll improve next time.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.